Okay, it's time for Chapter 30 of Terror at Bottle Creek by Watt Key. Remember, you've got to have your copy and have it in hand when you come back to school in the fall because we're going to be working with this. Excuse me while I adjust my computer just a little bit here. Okay, Chapter 30. I'd seen a man snake bit before. A pasty-skinned bird watcher from Minnesota, a retired attorney we took on a day trip. He was chasing a blue heron we'd seen flap and croak away. Dad was always impatient with bird watchers, but more so with this man than usual. He'd ignored everything we'd said that day regarding his safety. Dad told him there would be other herons and not to get out of the boat, but he didn't listen. He held his eyeglasses with one hand and clutched his camera with the other and left the boat sweating and thrashing into a steamy thicket. We stayed behind and drank some water and waited. A moment later, we heard him deep in the underbrush, screaming like a girl. He's probably up to his waist in mud, Dad said to me. Got a big banana spider on his face. I smiled. Dad and I often joked about banana spiders. They were an evil black and yellow color and grew as big as my hand. They'd always seemed to string their webs right where a person wanted to walk, sometimes two or more clinging to the same web. Although they weren't poisonous, they didn't help matters when you passed through a sticky mess of them and felt them crawling over your face and neck. Ew. You want me to go help him? I asked. Dad frowned and started to stand. He sighed. Nah, I'll check on him. Dad took his time, capping the thermos and replacing it in the cooler. Before he was done, we heard the attorney crashing toward us through the palmetto. He reappeared at the water's edge. His glasses gone, bright red streaks of briar tears across his face. He held his arm and stared at us in a look of horror. I've been bitten by a viper, he said in disbelief. I looked at Dad. He didn't seem immediately alarmed. The man had been overreacting to things all day. We helped him into the boat, and he showed us the 2 fang marks on the muscle of his forearm. What did the snake look like? Dad asked him. He was black and thick. Are you sure it was venomous? What? The birder said. I don't know anything about vipers. Was its head thick and triangular? I didn't study its head, you idiot. Let's go. I need medical attention. I was already starting our old tiller steer, John, snake bit or not. I knew Dad was ready to get the birder back to the landing. Calm down, Dad told him. If it was venomous, then you need to keep your heart rate slow. Go, kid, the birder screamed. The boat was backing off the bank. I couldn't have gone any faster. Dad got the snakebite kit out of the dry box under his seat. He pulled it open and dumped the contents into his lap. Meanwhile, I gunned the boat up the bayou. What's that? The birder asked. Snakebite kit. There's a razor blade in here. We'll need to cut your arm and start sucking out the venom. Cut me? What if it's not poisonous? It probably was, Dad said to him. He studied us for a moment as if there were a possibility Dad was joking. I held the tiller of the boat as we raced up the bayou. We had a 20-minute ride ahead of us to the landing. If he'd been bitten by a cottonmouth, then it was more important to get him to the hospital than it was to suck the venom. There was even some people we knew who discouraged using a snakebite kit at all if there was a chance of proper medical attention, but I knew what Dad was thinking. Maybe just keeping the guy occupied would calm him down. Hold out your arm, Dad said. Do you have any experience with this? The birder said. No. I want certified medical attention. Suit yourself, Dad said. Dad put away the snakebite kit and got our two-way radio from the dry bag at my feet and called Curly Stanson, the sheriff. Curly, I got a client that may have been bitten by a cottonmouth. You think you could get somebody to meet me? I'm about 15 minutes out. 10-4, Curly said. I'll get 'em on the way. Who was that? The lawyer said. The sheriff. Call an ambulance or something. I don't know where the hospital is. What do you expect him to do? There's no cell phone coverage here. He'll have somebody drive you to the hospital. What kind of jackleg outfit is this? Dad looked him straight in the eye. Do you want to die? What the heck kind of question is that? There's snake venom in your bloodstream, possibly enough to kill you. The more you move, the more you talk, the faster your heart pumps it through your entire body. It's already eaten at the muscle tissue in your arm. If you're lucky, they won't have to amputate it." The birder swallowed and didn't answer. "So turn around, face forward, and shut up." The birder nodded like a child and slowly turned in his seat. I didn't hear him speak again. We got him to the landing where Curly himself was waiting to take him away. After they left, Dad told me he'd probably try to sue us. He never did, but the doctor had to cut off the birder's arm at the elbow. Chapter 31. I wiped the rainwater from my face and spat. "It won't kill you," I told Liza, "but it's going to get swollen. You'll feel sick." "Check the tree court. Make sure there aren't any more." Of course there were more, but I pulled myself up again and passed the line along the limb beneath my feet. I saw a smaller one, but the immature ones were the worst. They typically over-injected venom. I used the end of my spear to gently dislodge it so it fell onto the backs of the pigs below. "It's just the little one," I said. She didn't answer me. I continued the search, contorting myself into Let's try that paragraph again. She didn't answer me. I continued the search, contorting myself into every possible position to see around the trunk and beneath the platform. I found another and flicked it into the air. I studied every inch of the bark until I saw the black reflections of their eyes. I removed 5 in just the areas I was able to search with the weak light. I knew there were more. I knew more were coming. Liza and Francie suffered quietly beside me, balled up, shivering, water running down their faces. I didn't want to see Liza's foot in the darkness. I tried not to think about any of it. The most I could do was try to keep things from getting worse. If Francie took one bite like that, it would kill her. If Liza took another, she wouldn't stand a chance either. I tried to act brave for the girls, tried to make them believe I knew what I was doing, but inside my head I was a mess. "Dad," I thought, "what do I do, Dad?" I tried not to be angry at him. In a strange way, I thought if I was angry, then he wouldn't help me. I spent the final 2 hours of darkness on my stomach, watching the trunk below, occasionally glimpsing Rusty or one of the smaller hogs. The juniper rocked slowly against the storm. I looked over at the bear. He was trying to climb higher, but he was making a weak effort at it. I felt a connection to the beast in his own private battle. I looked away and thought again about the difference between mammals and reptiles. Pigs can make gentle pets when raised in captivity, and of course so can dogs. I've even seen pet bears on television. With mammals, if you take away their need to constantly search for food, it seems to make room in their heads for love and loyalty and companionship. But make them fend for themselves and they turn into killers. A dog turns into a wolf. A pig grows coarse hair and tusks and slims down into a lethal thug. I studied the bear again, still struggling to climb. I wondered if friendly feelings were buried deep in his thick head, feelings that hadn't been completely extinguished by the daily struggle of survival. I worried that there were snakes above us. I didn't know why there wouldn't be. The bear could be climbing toward them. "Stay still. Don't move like that. Daylight will be here soon." Any snakes above us would most likely stay where they were or go higher. It was certain death for them to leave the trees. The best I could do was stop the flow of them up into our space, keep them off the girls. I gripped the spear tightly and resumed my watch. The swamp slowly revealed itself in the dull, diluted light. Through the rain I made out not just the backs of hogs, but their eyes and their tusks as well. 2 deer standing in the brush, the green of leaves and yellow of cane stems, everything wet and pressed. There were no bird calls, no squirrel chatter, only the soft grunting of the pigs and an occasional thrashing in the water downhill. With the onset of morning, a relative calmness had settled over the mound. I worked my way into a sitting position and turned to the girls. My eyes went straight to Liza's foot. It was swollen to twice its size, purple and black with streaks of red running up to her ankle. Both of them were shivering with cold and sickness, their heads buried into each other. Francie balled tightly into her lap. "Liza," I said. She didn't answer me. "It's morning." She shifted slightly and grew still again. I wanted her to talk to me. Liza, do you remember when we used to catch bullfrogs in the creek? We brought them to Dad and he cleaned them and fried the legs for us. We had fried frogs' legs, remember that? She didn't move. They were so small it was like eating crab claws, but we thought it was the best thing in the world. The wind gusted and a wet leaf slapped her against the cheek. I reached out and pulled it away. Liza, remember? We were going to go into business together and make a lot of money selling frog legs. Nothing. Liza, just say something to me. I feel sick, she muttered. Okay, I said. Don't say anything then. Just stay still. I studied her foot again. I thought about cutting slices into it to relieve the pressure. Then I thought about open wounds getting infected. And with the rest of our situation, there seemed to be no clear choices. Then I felt my own wound throbbing on my leg and looked down to see the nasty tear, rain-washed and hanging open like a cut of raw steak. The same red streaks of infection ran up my thigh. Just how many ways can there be to die in this place? I wondered. And that's the end of chapter 31.